This right here is the news review on the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akakwo. Thank you for staying. And my guests this morning, straight down to it, Afe Omoni, former president of the Ghana Journalists Association. Kwame Nkrumah is general secretary of the CPP. Both of them join me this morning as we get into the issues. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Yeah. I was teasing Mr. Money a short while ago that he should be in a certain boxer's camp. Can you guess the boxer? Kwame Nkrumah.
Not really.
You can't?
No.
You know Floyd Mayweather, he has the money team, right?
Oh, yes.
So I was teasing him that I feel money should be a part of the money team. But here we go, another morning. Today should have been a day when organized labor was going to show force, show power.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they are whimpering like, what should I say? A certain animal with its...
Headless chicken.
With its...
Headless chicken.
Some would say a dog with its tail between its legs. Some would say that. But on the other hand, you would also notice that, and I'll give you your time to do the usual. Yeah. You would also notice that, for example, the medical groups, the Ghana Medical Association, the registered midwives, nurses and midwives. Yeah. I mean, if all of these people go on strike, in the end, we'll be affected. The generality of the population will be affected in some way. It's a reality. We can't even pretend that will not happen. So some have asked, how should we have played the balancing act, especially considering what happened with the SNIT Hotels saga and everything. And there's also that bit about who got money or who did not. Did money exchange hands? Did money not exchange hands?
Investigating.
Well, some of these things, only God can investigate. Only God knows what happens in these. But those are just some thoughts we'll get into. For now, let's take your initial thoughts, what you have for us this morning. I'll start with you, Mr. Botiu.
Well, as usual, top of my mind this morning is the Galamsey menace.
Galamsey.
It's taken such proportions that it's great cause for alarm.
Monstrous, eh?
Yes, yes. And it is not as if we didn't see it coming. I mean, a lot of foreign, even foreign stations had videos on it on YouTube and other places a few years ago about how the health implications were going to be dire, about how even the fish in these rivers were ingesting mercury and other things and then getting back on our table. And now we hear our foodstuffs that we've been exporting also have high levels of metals.
Your yam, likely your cassava, your plantain.
Exactly, because agric is one of the areas of export that we can use to get foreign exchange. And if that in itself is becoming unattractive, then we are in we are in deep trouble. So top of my mind, as usual, is the Galamsey menace and organized labor's response to government's proposal. And I suppose regarding organized labor, I believe that they took the right action in threatening the strike. However, the conclusion on reversing their decision to go on strike, that is a very dicey issue. And I agree with Mr. Money that certain things should be investigated, because calling off the strike indeed will also save us some problems, you know, because if organized labor goes on strike, a lot of us will be in hot waters. At the same time too, with every second that Galamsey goes on, we get into even bigger trouble. So it's a very, very delicate...
Caught between the devil and the deep blue sea.
Exactly, exactly. And I accept the call for it to be investigated. I think...
oh, you think the stance of organized labor should be investigated?
It should
the sudden backtrack or pirouette should be investigated?
The sudden backtrack. And even beyond...
But wait, investigated by whom? To what end?
Well, I suppose we, the political parties, we have our people on the ground. We need to find out exactly what is happening. And also, we need to find out if our eminent chiefs in Ghana are being harassed or intimidated in any way. Because I know that Galamsey comes a lot of money. Some of these people use the money to buy arms. Even a few days ago, there was one incident somewhere where two young men were shot or were killed during a protest. And in the end, there was a dispute whether they were shot or whether they drowned. So I know our chiefs are very influential in society. And I think one of the solutions to this Galamsey menace is to empower the chiefs to speak to those in their jurisdiction in order to tone down on the wanton destruction of the environment. And also, the EPA too has to be up and doing, because one of the main problems with this Galamsey menace is the refusal to fill the pits after the mining. So it is not just carrying out the mining per se, but leaving the land as it is. The land has to be reclaimed in a
No
way.
reclamation done.
Exactly, because we are all aware that when it comes to gold mining, it is not only the illegal gold mining that causes environmental degradation. Even the legal gold mining in itself also has its issues. So I think the EPA too should be up and doing to check whether the land reclamation is done. And then I'm glad there are special courts being set up to try Galamsey issues. And it should even go further to check for those who do not reclaim the land or do not refill the land after they have carried out the Galamsey. So we all have a stake in this. We all have to work together, and our various institutions should be empowered, whether financially or in terms of protection, you see, because our chiefs too, sometimes they also receive threats. There are people who've decided to stand up to the illegal mining, and they receive all kinds of threats and are not able to do what they have to do in order to curb the menace. So I am glad the Honorable Minister, Honorable Abu Jinapor, has come out with these proposals in order to satisfy organized labor. But a close eye should be kept on them, just as a close eye was kept on SNIT during the hotel saga. And if they don't live up to their word, then we will see the next line of action.
And maybe if some have threatened that if this is how labor is going to act, then next time they are on their own. Because then we know that maybe we are being used so that in the end someone may get... Some people have espoused those thoughts. Yes. But let me come to Mr. Money. So you look at this, I mean, Joseph Osei-Wusu, Joe Wise, as we all call him, the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, has spoken about shooting to kill. I think we've got to the point where, if you remember armed robbery, especially when the NDC took over, in let's say the early 90s when the NDC was in power, there were some areas where the scourge of armed robbery was maddening. And it took certain reactions for it to be curbed. and I lived in one of those communities at the time, so I understand what that meant. He is proposing some shoot-to-kill policy. Some have said that is extreme, but how do we sanitize this? In recent days, I heard the story of a young man who some years back said, not very recent, but some years back, maybe 2017 or something of the sort, said that in one trip of doing Galamsey, he had secured enough to buy 7 Benz Sprinter buses.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw that article, yes.
Which job will give you that kind of money? But at the same time, are we going to say that for the Bible speaks about the love of money, not that money is evil, but the love of it is evil. For the love of money, will we destroy everything? And then what will be left? What else will we tap into? Because this Galamsey thing is destroying the land, is destroying the water, it is killing our fish, it is depleting our fish stock. Now, for those consuming things from there, babies are being born with all sorts of deformities. If we are not careful, we shall soon have a full-scale health crisis, kidney, liver, intestinal, lung diseases, cancers, I mean, you name it. Because Fufuna Obedino, you will use all of these. Yeah. So every day you'll kill yourself a little. By the time we realize it, it's gone. You are killing your cash crops. Look at what is happening to cocoa, partly on the back of... So it appears this Galamsey scourge it's a hydra-headed problem destroying everything at once. Your reactions?
Ben, before I come to the severity of the crisis caused by Galamsey, permit me to ventilate what I consider a huge concern about the devaluation.
Devaluation?
Yes, of our presidential race.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting point.
Yeah, you know, the presidency, we all know, is the most consequential office in the land. And we need people whose qualities, whose competencies, whose characters fit the bill. But we have a situation where in every election year, you know, we as a nation, we elevate to a higher pitch of comedy this very serious race for the presidency. The Constitution, Article 468, Chapter 8, Article 68 spells out who qualifies to be a president: 40 years minimum age, sound mind, might have paid your taxes, and you shouldn't have been convicted for treason and other aspects out in the Constitution. But at the same time, we know that constitutions are made for man. So we have all the latitude, we have all the power to institute some engineering to this constitutional provision, so that those who qualify for, or those who stand, candidates who stand, will not reduce this serious business of the presidency to a comedy. So the situation now is that year in, year out, we are infusing a larger dose of comedy or concert into a presidential race by the quality of the candidate who choose to stand for presidency. But we as we grow as a nation, as we grow democratically, as we grow in all dimensions of national life, we should also ensure that at least we tighten, tighten the door a bit, so that the entry point will not be as loose as it is now. This is my take. And back to Galamsey.
Back to Galamsey. Let's
Galamsey, it's mind-boggling and nerve-wracking and spine-chilling that as a nation we sat down to get to this point of ecological and genocidal proportions. Where were the military all this while? Where have the police personnel been? What is going to happen, and what has happened to the DCs in the Galamsey endemic areas?
Some of the DCs are themselves, if you look at the report of the Fourth Estate, some of them are themselves, what's the word, complicit in this. We've seen footage of the military, and now the Lands and Natural Resources Minister is telling us about, the Navy and River Guards. Well,
so the complicity, the duplicity, and the mendacity which have brought us to this level of crisis proportions. So what's the guarantee that the raft of measures announced yesterday will be big enough as a bandage to our wound? As you see, we are bleeding as a nation. We are bleeding profusely.
Hemorrhaging badly. And by the way, they knew they could do this, but they had to wait till there was some agitation. And we would now get to this point. How many days ahead of, less than 60 days to the election? Well, for me, I keep saying that we can all pretend, we can all keep mute, but I keep saying it will reach everybody. No one will be spared, unless you are getting all your food from some other country, unless you're getting all your water from some other country. After all, the lands minister says he drinks tap water, so he drinks tap water every day. Wow. So yeah.
One would wonder why he's still keeping his position.
Pardon me?
As one would be wondering why he's still keeping his position as a lands minister.
You know, I met a stalwart. I was at West Africa Civil Society Institute event yesterday. And I was telling one of the MPP stalwarts, and I can't mention his name, but I was mentioning that, you know, sometimes it's like slapping somebody and then the person loses a few teeth. Then you go look into the person's mouth and ask, but why are you complaining? Is it simply because you are bleeding and you've lost a few teeth? You know, it's like adding insult to injury, because let's even give him that, granted, he drinks tap water every day. Looking at the situation and how people, the angst, how people feel about it, is that a comment you should come out and make?
Certainly not, certainly not. I think
I guess.
Yeah.
I listened to him yesterday with all absorbing attention and all consuming seriousness, because this is a matter which is threatening to spell the extension of this nation. And as we sat down, so the supreme question once again is, is the bandage we've applied to the wound of Galamsey big and absorptive enough to stanch the blood flow? So this is what the media should follow up in the name of solutions-oriented journalism. We should continue to ensure that we monitor these enhanced operations to combat Galamsey with all tenacity, with all intensity, and with all ferocity. And let me seize the opportunity to commend Joy Multimedia for the frontal role you are playing in the fight against Galamsey. Others are doing well, they are beat. So the media, this is a fight we dare not, we must not fail to win. Otherwise, this nation will move backward instead of moving forward.
But some entities still say they are going ahead. UTAG has declared its strike, and I think it was over 70% voting yes, about 20-something, 21+% saying no. So by an overwhelming majority, they will go on strike. I think one thing, someone is sharing a message that he thinks disorganized labor cashed out yesterday. I don't know. That's his opinion, Jonathan. But I think while I wasn't in support of a wholesale strike, industrial action, because what it means is the judicial service, if you go to court, if you go to hospital, it basically would mean the country had been crippled. But if for the sake of making a strong point, because in the end, if the economy shuts down, we'll face consequences. Yeah. If Galamsey continues as it is, especially when on the back of all this talk and organized labor trying to do something, which now they've backed out of by and large, you still have licenses being given out. It tells you that it will get to a point soon where it will be practically irreversible. Yeah. The least you can do when water gets to the point where it is so saturated with some of these heavy metals, it gets to the point where there's practically nothing you can do.
That's all.
It's also well nigh impossible to extract mercury and cyanide and some of these heavy metals from water once mixed, unless, you wait decades and all of that. So we just might get to the point where it's gone, and it's gone. It's like a desert. Yeah. And we have to live with it. Yeah. I don't know, but for me, I just keep saying that we've become so polarized that we can't even speak the truth in this country. And it makes one want to retch. So sickening. Yeah. You can't speak the truth without being labeled green, black, white, red, or red, white, blue.
And he said that truth becomes truth, or truth is only truth when it is spoken. So if you know the truth and you fail to speak the truth, then it ceases to be truth. So we have a responsibility, especially the media, to ventilate our concerns, expose wrongdoings, make sure that we keep a constant eye on certain dark spots in society. And Galamsey is one foremost area we need to sharpen our focus in order for us as a nation to win this fight.
Well, let's get into some stories now. I'll start with you, Afil Moni. Which paper do you have? What are the headlines?
Daily Guide. Daily Guide. A lot of stories are competing for attention on the front page of Daily Guide. We have Nana Begins New Galamsey fight, which is the story of the day. And confusion rocks organized labor, cause of strike, which is true. And any twist to this whole Galamsey saga, organized labor doing NDC's bidding, according to the MPP national organizer. And we have as a story backed by a picture of His Excellency the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, and Domahini. And Domahini is quoted as saying that Dr. Bawumia has proved them wrong, and this in relation to his performance in office. We also have Michael Quay Jr. leading breast cancer campaign. That's the Daily Guide for you. So, maybe I can go ahead and look at the story of the day. Chaos has erupted within organized labor as some workers' unions have broken ranks and distanced themselves from the intended nationwide strike scheduled to commence today. The deepening rifts within the labor movement, which has led to confusion and uncertainty, has forced the leadership of organized labor to announce the suspension of the intended strike. This we all know, but we need to hammer the point that the present leadership of organized labor will forever stand condemned at the bar of history if they fail to redeem their image. Their front is divided, and as the Bible, which is a perennial spring of wisdom and infallible guide of conduct, tells us, a house divided by itself cannot stand. So if organized labor, at this critical moment in the history of this country, are so disorganized that some have tagged them as disorganized labor instead of organized labor. They cannot iron out their differences and pull in one direction, fight on a common front. Then history will not be fair to them. So as you speak, the whole nation is watching, the world is watching, and history is watching. Never should they allow themselves to be consigned to the dustbin of history for failing to act when it matters most. Organized labor, I know Joshua Ansah, he rose from the ranks. He's a true unionist. And other crop of leaders too. I mean, their track record indicates that they've done justice to their mettle as organized labor. But this is a fight which threatens to spell the doom of this nation. So I would have expected them to fight, sing from the same hymn sheet, fight on a common front, and pull in one direction. So what is happening is a disgrace. So they have a responsibility imposed by heaven to dismantle this ignoble tag of disorganized labor. Otherwise, history will not deal with them fairly. Okay.
History, well, you say history will not deal with them fairly. Maybe history will not be kind to them. Might sound like a better option. Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get into your papers, Kwame Nkrumah.
If you look at page 7 of
which paper is this?
The New Republic.
Right.
There's a very important story there about Democratic Hub criticizes delay in release of protesters on bail.
Yeah.
And
Granted bail, but you'll cook inside for a while.
Yes, yes. Democratic Hub has done a good job. And the last time I was on this show, I pleaded with the judiciary to grant them bail. Of course, it's discretionary, not that they have to willy-nilly just kowtow to the desires of anybody. And fortunately, their lordships looked into the law and decided to grant bail to most of them. I think from my checks, the only one who's still on remand is my friend Oliver. However, I would want to just call on the Democratic Hub protesters that they should have faith in the judiciary.
They should, eh?
They should have faith in the judiciary because, you know, when you are granted bail, it is not automatic that you just walk out of court and go home. The bail conditions that are imposed on
the sureties and others,
they have to be satisfied. So rest assured, they'll be out very soon. And I know that their lawyers are working round the clock. So they shouldn't worry because temperatures are already high in the country. So I'll call on them that they shouldn't worry. Everything will be fine.
But Kwame Nkrumah, those processes, you see, these things can happen to anybody. The judicial system shouldn't be weaponized against anybody.
Yes.
These people had been cooking in there for, and I'd gone twice to see some of them.
Yeah.
Felicity Nelson, Benjamin Dako, among others, you know, at the cantonments police station.
Yeah.
The point being that this could happen to anybody. Sometimes when you see your neighbor's beard on fire, you want to get water by your side. When bail is granted, there are certain processes that must follow.
Yeah.
And yes, it's a process.
Yes.
But if you also realize that certain processes must follow from the police, from the justice system, from here and there, and those processes are dragging unnecessarily, or you are in court and for 2 hours you are sitting in a van in the court and no one is doing anything, no one is telling you anything. And after a number of days, you are still in the cooler. Some questions ought to be raised.
Yes.
I don't think it's out of order for them to question why, after all this time, yes, you will have to find someone who can meet the bail conditions and, you know, serve the sureties and all of that, so that in case any of them absconds, the right, you know, legal procedures can follow. But honestly, if this is how everything will be done for every citizen, then let's play along. Then some people in future shouldn't complain about anything because then it becomes the norm. So let's normalize it if that's what we want to do.
Yeah, but I see where you're coming from. And I know that there are some lapses there. Sometimes your clients
monumental lapses.
Yes, sometimes your clients may get bail, but the court has to end sittings for the day before the registrar can call for the docket and act on it.
I'm aware of all of these, but I'm saying that if it's so protracted that it goes over and beyond any length of time, then of course you start.
No, that one I agree with you that it's unfair. And another story that is interesting is Ghana Armed Forces Operation HALT teams up with small-scale miners to fight mining in river bodies, which means that if we do not take care, this issue is going to become even worse. Because as far as I know, they are not mining in the river bodies, but near the river bodies. So if now they are stepping in the river bodies, then things...
Some of the Galamseyers are doing it
then it's very serious.
The river bodies.
Then it's very serious.
Inside it, right in the middle of it.
Then it's very bad. Because I remember I was one of those who raised an uproar over Honorable Osei Wusu's statement on the shoot to kill on the Galamseys. Because shoot to kill is more or less an extrajudicial process. Anybody could be there for any reason. There could be plainclothes policemen at the side there to arrest. And then, I mean, so I don't support those ones. And I remember those days when armed robbery was rampant, the role that the neighborhood watchdogs played. You see, so we have to decentralize this fight as much as possible. In Accra, I do not see much of Galamsey, but I remember I went for a wedding in I think it was Prestia a few years ago, 2018, And the hotel we're staying in, right there in the town, we're staying in a hotel, you look out of your window, and people are actually doing Galamsey right there in the town. It was terrible. It was terrible. So I believe that we should act on these issues as soon as possible. The Ghana Armed Forces, it is good they have teamed up with the small-scale miners. Otherwise, we will get to a situation where, as you said, the love of money can cause all kinds of problems. And on my way here, I was listening to some news items, and they're talking about the Gold Coast. Now, when you fly, I remember I went to Nigeria a few months ago, and you know you have the luxury of the plane
the aerial view,
a bit low, not like international flights, and the aerial view of this country is, I mean, it's.
I think recently there was a news.
Was
it Al Jazeera or the BBC or Sky News? One of those. They did that. They had an
it's
aerial view.
terrible.
When you look at Ghana from the sky,
it's
you'll
terrible.
think you're looking at a puddle of mud.
It's terrible. Even when you are flying to Tamale, you look down and the kind of things you see. This country was once known as a Gold Coast, but now we are venturing towards a situation where we'll be known as a Gold Ghost. You understand me?
The gold what?
The Gold Ghost. Because, and one thing that Mr. Money said, he said, I mean, the truth is one. You understand me? The truth is one. We all know the truth. You don't need much more evidence to see that what is happening is costing the country a lot. It's costing the country a lot. And as you stated, I mean, that the Bible talks of the love of money. It's actually in 1 Timothy 6:10. It says, for the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. It is through this craving that some have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs. We are piercing ourselves with many evils. It is not just the diseases that come along with Galamsey. We also have many security issues that will come along with Galamsey. The quick and astronomical profit that is made by these people. Some of them use it to buy weapons. So it is.
Oh yeah.
We are putting a
lot of the Galamseyers
our security at risk. In 2017, the government banned Galamsey for some time. There's nothing wrong with doing that again. And even as far back as 2013, also, there was a huge crackdown on Galamsey, and many foreigners were deported from the country. And one news article I read was to the effect that the equipment left behind by those who were deported are those being used by the citizenry to carry out the Galamsey. You know, the Constitution applies to foreigners and locals alike. But if you look at it...
But there are differences. There are certain things foreigners can't do.
Exactly. But I'm saying that the clampdown...
Small-scale mining and the rest, they are not supposed to.
The clampdown was not only on the fact that they were doing a business activity they were not allowed to do, but also because they were degrading the environment. So if these people have been deported for falling foul of the law, then why are we treating our own citizenry with kid gloves? The law should apply to them just as it applies to foreigners.
And there's another biblical quote that comes to mind. For lack of knowledge.
Exactly.
So we are acting as though we didn't know.
Yes.
Eventually, I guess, when the consequences hit, everybody will be affected.
Yes.
And if people will perish, I guess they will perish. Maybe then the scales will fall off our eyes.
Yes.
The corks will get out of our ears. And then we can sidestep politics and realize that this is a menace likely not in the future, likely now, killing all of us.
Yes.
I ate yam a few days ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You eat bangkun,
Yeah.
you eat your fufu, you eat whatever you eat. So
And there's one
let's all
report
pretend.
which indicates that our yams
Oh yes,
are not
heavy metals.
Yeah, heavy metals.
And you see, when heavy metals get into your body is not meant to receive heavy metals. Your body can't process heavy metals. So the cancers and the other diseases will be rife in the system. How many Ghanaians can afford even kidney treatment, dialysis? How many of you out there can afford it? Looking at the minimum wage and how much people earn. Can you pay the 400 and something a week for at least 2 weeks?
Jaw-droppingly expensive.
Every month. Mostly it should be 3 or 4 sessions. They can't afford it, so some people will downsize. Do you know what that means?
Yeah.
But let's play with it. Yeah. Let's do what we like doing. Like I'm saying, As for those who have salted away enough money to travel and the rest, and we see it, when they are sick, they don't stay in Ghana. They go elsewhere, get the treatment, and come back. Now, where will we travel to?
Yeah.
Any other stories you want to look at quickly?
If you look at the first page of the same...
Are you still on the first paper, or you've moved to the second?
The second paper... The second paper...
So you can do what you're doing. I just want you to address them quickly. So you can do the New Republic.
I honestly would prefer this, because the second paper is, as Mr. Money was saying, about our presidential campaigns being watered down and not being about issues. I think I'll remain on the New Republic, because it's speaking to a lot of important,
so go ahead,
important issues.
For the sake of time.
And it speaks of Ghana drinks poison. Who pays the price from treatment to recycling? It also speaks of Jubilee House in Galamsey, hot waters. And this shows that the government itself has been dragged into this Galamsey issue deeply. Of course, it's an issue about the citizenry on the ground. But if indeed Jubilee House is involved and all that, that means that the president should once again declare a temporary ban on illegal mining. It is very, very important that this is done. Otherwise, it will take a very long time for the New Patriotic Party to regain their image. If you look at the polls now, it looks like they are suffering terribly because of this Galamsey issue.
And do you know one of the most annoying things? The picture being painted that, oh, it is triggered by a political party. The opposition wants to score political points, political gains on it. That is why they are doing this. And my response to them, I tell them, let's say that is true. Assume that is true. How about the problem itself? Will you politicize the solutions too? Ghanaians don't care who is doing what or who has done what. Now, we have a crisis. Let's deal with the crisis. So when these leaders want to get political about everything, I watch some of them and just wonder whether, pardon me, whether they are thinking. Do you get it?
Yeah, but
it's a national crisis. Whether someone is stoking it or not, as a leader, what do? You act and solve the problem. All this Operation Halt and the rest, what have we not seen before? If this could have solved it in the past, would we be here?
We are told it's an enhanced operation, enhanced. We should come with rapid results. So we need to monitor and see how rapid the results are. And I believe the one determinant of the success of this enhanced operation will be the color of the water we drink. And the quality of the water we drink.
And speaking of water, the polymers we use, they don't wash away heavy metals. So since the lands minister says he's been drinking tap water, maybe some free advice for him that I'm not bastardizing the Ghana Water Company Limited and the work they do. They work within the space and they do what they can with the resources they have. But polymers don't take away heavy metals. So if the lands minister says he's drinking it every day, he might want to think again. The Daily Graphic newspaper, Church will be development partner, Bawumia reaffirms, ensuring peace on December 7, prosecute 2020 election killing perpetrators. Emil Short said so. I was at this event yesterday, and he said that we can't be calling for peace and the rest when in 2020, you know, variously, we have had reports of some saying 5, others going as far as saying 8 of them, and that you can't be out there touting, we want peace, and you've not dealt with those who perpetrated those acts. I listened to some saying that don't involve the NDC's representative there, Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer. Don't involve the military. It's not their jurisdiction. But ACP Yamwa was also there and said that depending on the situation, they work hand in glove with us, and we may have to bring them. So it was quite an interesting discussion. The UN representative, coordinator in Ghana, Charles Abani, was also there, spoke passionately about some of these issues. So again, we pray for peace, but peace doesn't just come.
But why did the roadblock
things must be done to ensure peace?
To the investigation to this issue, it's boggles the mind. It's why have we failed as a nation to investigate the causal factors of the killing of 8 precious human beings.
Why has Galamsey got to the state it has? It's the same answer. Lack of political will.
Yeah, we know. Galamsey is so clear that political will has been so conspicuous with its absence.
You see, if justice is served, you don't have to tell someone that if you go to court, you'll get justice, or the system is just.
Yeah.
Back in the day when you knew that if I sit this exam, and if I work hard, and if I do X, Y, Z, I will pass this exam. And if I pass this exam, I will get into a good institution. Now, all of those values and principles no longer apply. It's whom you know and all of that. So things have changed, and it's clear. The system is what it is, and people react.
And it's to change for the better.
To that system. Organized labor rescinds Galamsey strike. Government acts on concerns. On the back page, Otto confident of Black Stars' victory. We are winding down on this conversation so we can veer into sports. On the international front, Mozambique votes in election likely to keep ruling party in power. Stigma adds to Burundi's challenges in Mpox fighting. We have 2 cases so far. No deaths, thankfully. And on page 7, the human right to safe environment. That's a story to be checked out. Pilot dies while flying aircraft. It's a Turkish Airlines pilot. You can check out the story on page 9. And Ukraine summit postponed after Biden cancels Germany visit. That's it from my end. Gentlemen, let's do 20 seconds each, and it's a wrap. Final words. I'll start with you, Kwame Nkrumah.
I would want to commend Mozambique on their election. And I believe they have shown the way for many African countries, including Ghana. I know that they had election observers even from Ghana. One of the CPP national leadership members, I will not mention the name for now, was invited to be an election observer. And from the feedback we are getting, it was free and fair and well organized. And I think Ghana should take a cue from that and prepare adequately for December 7th. We, the CPP, we have full faith in the EC, but we do know that this is a country where we had 8 deaths uninvestigated. If necessary to bring in the military, why not? We know that this is a job for the police, but then they can also use the military police, and where necessary, the Constitution allows for the military to come in, so that we'll have a smooth run of this year's election and avoid what happened in 2020.
Right. Your final words, Afil Money? We have to go.
We have about how many days more for the 2024 election, and we all know that every election induces its own tensions. But as a nation, we should try as much as possible to avoid the high voltage tensions which characterize our elections. Because elections and violence are cut from the same cloth. And once violence starts, no one can determine how it will end. As a nation, we have a responsibility to vote wisely, to vote peacefully. Right. At the end of it all, we shall be at peace with ourselves and peace with the rest of the world.
Thank you, gentlemen, for joining the conversation. Kwame Nkrumah Botsio is actually General Secretary of the Convention People's Party. In fact, he has 2 political names, Kwame Nkrumah and then Botsio. Botsio itself, another heavyweight political name. And we also had Afil Money, who may be joining Floyd Mayweather's money. He is former president of the GJA. Thank you for joining. And do stay with us because sports is up next. We'll be serving you that shortly.